Of farm workers during their struggle to unionize and improve the inhuman conditions that the people who bring us our food endure. During the 1980s, great. During the 1980s, it's hard to talk about Saul without laughing, you know, it's the truth of the matter. During the 1980s, as the Civil War in El Salvador drove tens of thousands of refugees to Los Angeles, Saul presented compelling testimony in court describing the use of torture and disappearances against the civilian population. Saul's testimony led to a major victory for the rights of immigrants when the court issued an injunction against the forced deportation of Salvadorian refugees. He gave so much. He opened his home. He gave his time, his ability to heal, and he gave his money. And until the end, he maintained a radical hope and a faith that the prescription for what ails this world lies in organizing. Saul was an indefatigable advocate for peace, nuclear disarmament, and social justice. He was courageous and he was kind, and he cared deeply for others and refused to descend into cynicism and paralysis. He was an effective advocate for the rights of immigrants, for workers, for children, and for youth. Saul was irrepressible and an inspiration to those who knew him. I'm deeply honored to present his incredible wife, Anne-Marie Niedorf, a resolution from the state of California that honors Saul's lifetime commitment to peace, nuclear disarmament, and social justice. I'd just like to read, I have a certificate here from the state senate. I'd just like to read what it says. On the occasion of being honored by Physicians for Social Responsibility Los Angeles, I am pleased to offer posthumous recognition of Dr. Saul Niedorf for his dedication to promoting the psychiatric well-being of the individual and the community. He made a lifelong commitment to social justice, peace, and nuclear disarmament, and his life is a shining example and inspiration to all. He exemplified commitment, integrity, and courage. I salute Dr. Niedorf on behalf of the California State Senate, 26th District. It is signed by Mark Ridley Thomas. So I would like to just present this to Anne-Marie right now. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to visit as part of this very special activist community as well. It's really heartwarming. From its inception, PSR has been an active voice for people like Saul and for people like Curren, an active voice for disarmament. Today, PSR's security program, which I'm going to talk about just for a moment, responds to grave new concerns. A war in Iraq started over the idea of weapons of mass destruction, and another looming with Iran over nuclear proliferation. The impending collapse of international legal rules that control the spread of nuclear weapons, and plans to end the verified and legally binding nuclear disarmament process. PSR is an active participant in the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, ICAN, reaching out to foreign governments, educating the public, and opposing the use of weapons-grade, highly enriched uranium in the production of medical isotopes. Just this week, PSR convened a meeting of experts in Washington to discuss a possible code of conduct for producers of medical isotopes and steps that physicians can take through our professional organizations to get the bomb out of medicine. So tonight's Peacemaker Award goes to a great leader in this struggle for a nuclear weapons-free world. In March 2003, the world watched as Dr.Hans Blix and his team of UN weapons inspectors were ordered to leave Iraq. Despite criticism from Bush administration officials and proponents of the war, Dr. Blix held firm to his conviction that had he been given more time, the war could have been avoided. A scholar of international law, he even declared the war illegal. Today, hundreds of thousands of lives have been lost, including over 4,000 American men and women. Tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate, and headlines are again filled with the prospect of a new war. And as we all know, Iraq, of course, in fact, possessed no weapons of mass destruction. Now head of the Weapons of Mass Destruction Commission, Dr. Blix continues to work for disarmament and recently published his third book since the war, entitled Why Disarmament Matters. PSR-LA board member Tova Fuller and former State Department policy analyst Bennett Ramberg presented the Peacemaker Award to Dr. Blix on April 3rd when he was visiting LA. And here's a very brief video of that special occasion.
That I created the 2008 Peacemakers Award.
Thank you very much.
It's a great privilege to give you this award. Thank you.
I feel very honored by receiving the Peacemaker Award of the Physicians for Social Responsibility. And I feel a great admiration for the medical profession. They have a dedication to saving life and preserving health. It's a humanistic vocation. But there is also added to that something that is very important, that is rationalism. As to say, you investigate and you empirically explore the diseases in the human body. And without that rationalism, we wouldn't get very far. Unless you have a correct diagnosis, how can you get to a reasonable therapy? Now, the same reasoning, I think, applies to the world at large. How can we have health between nations and peace between nations unless we also examine the real situation with critical minds? Then we can devise therapies. It's not easy, but we need to preserve that critical mind at what we see. And we also need to preserve the humanism. And to me, the physician's social responsibility is precisely a group spearheading that attitude in the international sphere that we need so much. I'm deeply honored and very grateful to the physicians for giving the award of a peacemaker.
Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce California State Senator Gloria Romero. As Senate Majority Leader, Senator Romero is the highest-ranking woman in the California Senate and the first woman to hold this leadership position. She's a legislator, an educator, a dedicated social activist, an aggressive prison reformer, and a forceful advocate for California's most disadvantaged citizens. Please welcome Senator Gloria Romero.